On June 29, 1962, we all remember that, right? Life magazine featured Aaron Copland's composition, Down a Country Lane. The piece was commissioned by Life magazine in hopes of making quality music available to the common pianist and student. The work was featured along with an article titled, Our Bumper Crop of Beginning Piano Players. The article explains, Down a Country Lane fills a musical gap. It is among the few modern pieces especially written for young piano students by a major composer. Copland explains the title. He says, the music is descriptive only in an imaginative, not literal sense. I didn't think of the title until the piece was finished. Down a Country Lane just happened to fit its flowing quality. Merlin Patterson completed the band arrangement in 1988. Copland himself spoke of Patterson's excellent work upon the completion of Down a Country Lane, saying that he produces, and I quote, a careful, sensitive, and most satisfying extension of the mood and content of the original. Enjoy the Young Harris College Wind Ensemble as they perform Down a Country Lane. Our students seated here on stage have had the opportunity of spending a rehearsal with our guest conductor, and I had the joyous opportunity to watch that rehearsal as they prepared for tonight's concert. As you can tell from the information located in your program, Mr. Sheldon is truly an accomplished composer, teacher, and musician. I encourage you to read the biographical materials that you have in here, in your program. But right now, I'll just say, please welcome Robert Sheldon to the stage.
Work, that's a good microphone. Because if I have to do anything, nothing's going to happen. Oh, thank you for sharing your evening with us. It's been a beautiful day up here in the North Georgia mountains. It's been just a lovely time, and I've had a wonderful time here on campus. I'm working with community band members as well as this wonderful group behind it. This is a really momentous thing. The first year of having a college band here, you're really part of history. And I'm so glad to be a part of this too, and to have a chance to work with these great musicians on stage. They're off to a fantastic start, don't you think? Of course, it really helps to have someone like Mary Land doing this, because she just knows how to make things. Mary asked me to talk just briefly about the first piece on the program, as well as the one we're about to do now. The first piece on the program is entitled Visions of Flight. And you know, it's interesting for me. This might not be interesting for you at all, but for me it's very interesting. When you write music over a long period of time in your life, those pieces that you write 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and you look at them, and sometimes you think, oh, why did I do? And it's very similar to when you look at your high school yearbook picture, and you think, why did I wear it? Why did my hair, whatever it would be. And I've gotten over that. Now, rather than be somewhat embarrassed by it or a little put off by it, I really find it kind of amusing, because to me, the pieces that I write over these 4 decades or whatever it is I've been writing, they're really snapshots of who you are at that point in time. You're inspired by your life and the things around you, and when I hear a piece like Visions of Flight that was written, I don't even remember how many years ago, it's been a good number of years, and I hear it and I think, it's almost like seeing an old friend, that you haven't seen for a long time. So I think it's kind of pleasant, and in this particular case, I hadn't really thought about Visions of Flight in a while, so it was so nice of Mary to program that. It was actually written for the Homestead High School Band in Florida. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Homestead, but it was the home of a major Air Force base, the Homestead Air Force Base. And I went down and wrote this piece for them, knowing that so many of the kids in the band were Air Force families. So I wanted the piece to have as much inspiration of every kind of flight I could think of. So when you heard the piece, I hope you maybe caught some of that. It was certainly the flight of the Air Force aircraft. It was maybe flight of birds. It was the flight of spacecraft just sort of floating. Just every kind of flight that I can imagine, as well as just the pride of the families in that area of the Air Force and of what their families really stood for. Unfortunately, shortly after I wrote the piece and we premiered it, Hurricane Andrew came through, and the entire city took flight. That was not one of the visions I had, but just things happen, they just sort of happen sometimes. But anyway, I was glad to hear that piece. It's been a long time. This next piece we're going to do is entitled In the Center Ring, and it was commissioned by a group in Illinois who had asked me to write a piece for them, maybe having to do with some of the wonderful recreational activities that are available near their community. But sometimes, when I'm writing these pieces, sometimes they don't behave. They take on a life of their own, and they go off in another direction, and no matter what I say or do, they just have their own way, and they take on this own personality. And I called the director and I said, I know what you want in this piece. this piece is not that. It's turning out to be a circus. It's a circus. And I'll stop and go, we'll rewrite this. He says, no. He says, let's just see what happens. Go with this. So it's a circus. It's in the center ring. You hear a lot of different circus sounds in it. You can probably envision the clowns, maybe the elegance of a high wire actor, or the trapeze. You're going to hear just a lot of personality involved in the piece. And it's really difficult to play, so I gotta hand it to these folks. They have worked very hard to do this, and we hope you enjoy In the Center Ring.
to our school and come to a practice and rehearse with us. And it was just such an honor, and in honor of that, we are making Mr. Robert Sheldon an honorary member of our band, and we're giving him a lovely t-shirt. We have every time we hope every time he wears that, he'll think of us.
That was something else, wasn't it? The Wind Ensemble will conclude its portion of tonight's program with Andrew Glover's most popular march titled March Grandioso. There will be a brief intermission while we make a quick stage change for the community band after this piece. Now, here's our director of bands and our Young Harris College Wind Ensemble as they close their program with March Grandioso. with Robert Sheldon and his composition, Flight of the Piasa. And I will welcome Robert Sheldon. Let's all welcome Robert Sheldon.
This seems so familiar to me. Where am I? Hello. We're going to start the program with a piece that I was really pleased Mary picked this music. That she just sort of, I told her, whatever you want to do is fine. Just point me in the right direction. Give me a stick. We're good. So she told me we're going to do Flight of the Piasa. The Piasa is a creature, sort of mythological creature, out of ancient Illini Indian tribe culture from the state of Illinois. And if any of you ever drive up the Great River Road, of course the Great River is the Mississippi River, as you're going up the Great River Road and you look at the bluffs, the cliffs overlooking the Mississippi River north of Alton, Illinois, you will see a painting of the Piasa, which is a giant winged creature with the head of a dragon. It breathed fire. It had scales like a fish or a snake. It had feathers. It had a long tail like a lion. It had large claws. Fortunately, we don't have them anymore in Illinois. I'm not sure exactly when they went extinct, but I've never seen one. I mean, I see things on the highway all the time. I've never seen those. But they apparently would swoop down and pick up people, and that was their tasty snack for the day. And the Illini tribe decided that the chief actually offered himself up as a sacrifice, so as this creature would come to grab him, the tribe could vanquish it. And apparently that's what happened, at least according to Illini legend. And this piece was commissioned by the Alton High School Band, right near that area. The piece doesn't necessarily depict the Piasa, but it does depict the bravery and heroism of the Illini tribe and some of the drama of this particular legendary event. This is Flight of the Piasa.
Italian composer Alfredo Casella provided a dazzling piece for modern symphony orchestra with his Paganiniana, a divertimento in 4 movements. That piece is a tribute to violin virtuoso Niccolò Paganini and is based on his caprices, quartets, and other unpublished works. The second movement, Polacetta, a little polka, is derived from Paganini's Quartet No. 4 for guitar and strings. While typical polkas are lively dances in a duple meter, this work surprises the listener with a delicate texture in a waltz meter that is both nostalgic and melancholy. This transcription for concert band by oboist William Starr, a staple in our community band. There is a haunting melody with the contemporary harmonies and challenges performers to imitate pizzicato strings. back on stage for one last time.
Thank you for being such a wonderful audience. It's very appreciated. Certainly I appreciate it. Other wonderful arrangers appreciate it, and certainly the ensemble does. It's really nice to have you here tonight and to have a wonderful audience to play for. Thanks. You know, it's a little unnerving sometimes when you're asked to do a program of several of your pieces of music, because as with any composer, really, there's going to be some elements of your music which will be similar. I mean, after all, when you study music history, you're supposed to be able to recognize Mozart in 2.5 seconds. I mean, there's certain things that you're just supposed to know about composers. But for me, I always try to find different inspirations for each piece, so that every piece is as different as possible from another piece that I've written. And that's getting really hard to do these days. After you write a couple hundred pieces, it's really hard to find something really different. This next piece, 1,000 Cranes, provided an opportunity to do just that. The Florida Bandmasters Association had asked, in conjunction with the Riverview High School Band in Sarasota, if I would write a piece in memory of a very beloved high school music educator from the state of Florida. And they wanted the piece to be called 1,000 Cranes. And those of you that are familiar with Japanese culture know that if you make an origami, folded paper origami crane, and give it to someone, in Japanese culture, that means you hold them in very high esteem. If you're the recipient of 1,000 origami cranes, that is a truly incredible thing, and it means that perhaps your wishes will come true or you're granted a wonderful life. So it's really quite a charming custom. It's not often I'm rendered speechless. Thank you. So the piece took on the inspiration of the cranes, the flight of the cranes, but not only that, but also the folding of the paper, the musical folding and unfolding of the notes. And that's what you'll hear as you go through this piece. It's not really an Asian piece at all. There's a few nods to that culture, but you'll hear the cranes in flight, you'll hear the folding of the musical notes of the paper. And what was most, for me, the most special part of this commission is they didn't understand this, they didn't know this when they commissioned me to write the piece, but the gentleman for whom this was written, Charlie Cornby, happened to be my beginning band teacher in Florida. So it was, for me, kind of a full circle. And so this piece starts out with some great tension in the music. You're going to hear 4 tones of music, sort of the folding of these first 4 pieces of paper. And there's a great deal of tension. And you'll hear these 4 notes as a signature as you go through the piece. By the end of the piece, though, these 4 notes will lose their edge, they will lose their anxiety, the tension in it, and it will become very soothing, hopefully, as we get to the end of the piece. It has been a great pleasure to be here to perform for you tonight, and it's been a real honor to work with the musicians here on campus and also this community band. Thank you all very much, and thank you all very much. It's been wonderful.
on the trip home. We got a nice warm food.
The community band will now conclude tonight's concert with one of John Philip Sousa's favorite marches, Fairest of the Fair. But first, I wanted to mention that Mr. Sheldon has a flight out very, very early in Atlanta. And so he regrets that he needs to leave before the conclusion of the program. So he asked me to relay his most sincere apologies that he had to depart before the program officially ended, and that he thoroughly enjoyed his time here at Young Harris College. And I know that our students and the community band members, community band groupies like me, as well as you in the audience, have been enlightened and inspired and truly blessed with the time spent with Mr. Sheldon.